and welcome to another week of 3-Minute TidBits brought to you by Clemson Snap Ed. This time we're going to be talking about food preparation, so stay tuned. So first things first, let's go ahead and start off with just general food preparation tips, all right? So of course you want to make sure that your hands, your utensils, as well as your overall kitchen is clean, all right? We don't want any cross-contamination from anything you might have done in the kitchen earlier that could taint your food and of course make you sick. Next thing to remember is to keep your raw and your cooked foods separate at all times, all right? So whether that's in the fridge, separating them on the different shelves, or even when you're preparing your food. So using separate cutting boards for your fruits and vegetables versus your protein foods, all right? Now what this is going to do is to make sure that you are not cross-contaminating, okay? So making sure that the E. coli that you can sometimes find in your leafy greens doesn't get on your cooked chicken, or vice versa, your uncooked chicken that may or may not have salmonella doesn't get on your leafy greens when you're making that salad. Now, the next thing in the food preparation process that we want to go ahead and discuss is the thawing process. Unless you just have fresh cut meat lying around everywhere, we do need to discuss this. So you got three options: either thawing it out in the fridge, thawing it out via microwave using the lower defrost setting so you're not cooking it while you're defrosting it, and then of course thawing it out by submerging it under running water. Okay, now if you're using the microwave or the running water techniques, you always want to cook it immediately afterwards. If you are using the fridge technique, so long as you don't take it out and leave it on the countertop or anything like that during the process, you can always, if you change your mind, put it right back into the freezer. Of course, you always have the option of taking it straight from the freezer and throwing it right into the oven, but that's only for certain food products, so always read the directions and follow them. Now, the next thing we want to talk about is freezer burn. Now, freezer burn isn't necessarily a bad thing when you see it on your food products. Just know that it, of course, can change the quality of your food. So say maybe it'll change the taste, make it a little duller, or it'll change the color a little bit. But again, it doesn't necessarily mean that your food is unsafe to eat. In order to check that out or to test that, you want to go ahead and make sure that it passes your senses test, all right? So is it smelly? Does it smell spoiled? Is it slimy or sticky to the touch? Or does it look like it has mold or something growing on it? Definitely make sure it passes your senses test before you cook or consume any food product. So the last thing we want to go ahead and talk about before we end this particular video segment is essentially cooking and heating your food, or more specifically, what temperature to bring things like poultry and ground meats to in order to reduce your chances for food poisoning. So let's go ahead and see. Of course, the proper way to gauge whether or not your food item is at its proper temperature is to use a food thermometer. Now, naturally, you want to go ahead and pull that food item out of the pot, pan, or oil that it is cooking in before you take the temperature in order to properly gauge it, all right? So go ahead and do that. Stick the food thermometer in at either the thickest part of the meat, not close to a bone, or stick it within the other food items, say pasta dish or plate of beans, things of that nature, and essentially use that to gauge whether or not your food is brought up to its proper temperature to again decrease your chances or your risk of foodborne illnesses. All right. Thank you so much for joining me for this video, and I hope you had a wonderful time. And I will talk to you guys again soon. Bye.